slow up, no I don't take shit, I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up.
Tainted Grail, The Fall of Avalon is a first-person dark fantasy single-player RPG that's developed by Questline and published by Awaken Realms. The Fall of Avalon is the successor to Tainted Grail Conquest, a deck-builder gothic turn-based isometric RPG that was released back in 2021 on Steam. I played Conquest on Game Pass, and the game was a blast, housing amazing gothic storytelling, superb voice acting, and an incredible soundtrack. So I'm excited to see how Fall of Avalon measures up to my already high expectations. This game kind of slipped under my radar, mostly due from my hype for Diablo 4 and Baldur's Gate 3's release dates coming in the near future. But it has been years since many of us have had the opportunity to dive into a first-person single-player RPG that's filled with meaningful choices, quests, and in a realm full of both swords and sorcery. Today I'm going to be checking it out from the new player perspective, discussing the story and systems and the overall quality of Tainted Grail, The Fall of Avalon's early access. Now this is going to be a long one, so strap in, grab a drink, and let's get after it. Okay, spoiler warning. I'm not trying to hide any plots or story arc. I'm here to deep dive and see what Fall of Avalon has to offer. Now, I was going to make this a one and done video, but have since decided that I'll be releasing this as a narrated adventure and my thoughts on the game's early access kind of as a series. That being said, if you're looking forward to playing spoily free, this is your chance to click off because I'm going to spoil the milk and eat the sandwich. Okay, time's up.
Consuming Red Death. 600 years ago, King Arthur led the Great Escape from the homelands, where our kingdoms were ravaged by the plague. Leading people to Avalon, he started the Age of Conquest and took the island from the Four Dwellers. Using the mysterious powers of menhirs, together with Merlin, they cleansed the land of the weirdness, a primordial force of chaos and possibility. But now, long after the death of the king, Camelot is in shambles as Avalon fractures into chaos. Old legends are gone, and the weirdness is creeping back into our lands. The bleeding heart of the plague has started beating once more. And the Red Death has returned. Rulers of the island asylum, an order of the Red Priests, are desperate to stop it by any means necessary. Rotting in one of their cells is a stranger who might bring a spark of change to this cursed island stuck in everlasting autumn.
The opening cinematic looks fantastic and weaves a tale of a plague known as the Red Death that has swept the homeland of humanity. A faction known as the Red Priests have devoted their lives to eradicating this sickness by any means necessary. To escape the clutches of the Red Death, King Arthur led a conquest to the island of Avalon, taking it by force from beings known as the Four Dwellers, and purging a primordial fog of chaos known as the Weirdness. With the help of Merlin, they used ancient statues known as menhirs to keep the weirdness at bay. But as time passed, the weirdness began to creep back into the land, and with it, the Red Death. The Red Priests founded an island known as Asylum to further their research in eradicating the plague by any means necessary. And this is where our story begins. We are a prisoner to the Red Priest, but fate has decided it will not be our journey's end, but where it begins. Now this all sounds good on paper, but starting a first-person action RPG as a prisoner, where have we seen this before? Oh yeah! The game that everyone will compare this game to. Now, I'm not saying that the opening should change, but it may be worth your time, developers, to create some alternate beginnings, like beginning as an envoy of Camelot. Maybe you were sent to Asylum to check on the progress of the Red Priest have concerning the plague, only to learn that things have gone tits up, or as someone who has infiltrated Asylum in search of a loved one who has been captured by the priesthood, only to discover that they are gone and you're left with more questions than answers. Maybe you could even be a novice Red Priest yourself, someone who has lost loved ones to the plague ravaging your homeland, and maybe you've dedicated your life to discovering the best way to beat the Red Death, only to arrive and learn that your seniors have become corrupted and you must now escape with what research you can and your life. Again, I'm not saying the intro should change. All I'm saying is that everyone who is ever going to play this game is going to go, wow, we start as a prisoner, how original. Just food for thought, developers. Alright, let's move on. After the opening story, we are launched into character creation, and it's okay. Many of the faces look samey, and the hair is terrible. Not that it looks terrible, but cutting off a ponytail and leaving all the hair to gather at the same location, as if the ponytail is still present, just looks fucking goofy. The facial hair seems fine, but the color could use some adjustments. Darker black is just way too dark and removes all textures from both hair and facial hair of the hero, and it just looks bad. Many of the faces have clipping issues with hairstyles and the facial hair, as if certain faces were only meant to have certain styles. Oh, this has to be my hero. He just oozes theft and debauchery. I know I said it was okay and then started in on it being bad, but to be honest, I'm happy character creation even exists, as opposed to a choose your pre-generated Chad simulator. I'm also edging on the fact that the game is still in early access. All in all, it could use some more love, yes, but for now, I'm happy it's here. Okay, let's name the hero and become immersed.
Rise and shine, rise and shine. Yes, it's me again. And I hope this time you'll cooperate, without me needing to repeatedly hit you in the face, eh?
As I stated earlier, we begin as a prisoner and the environment looks and feels great. The walls are filthy, the area is dark, and the place gives off the feel of a lack of freedom. Standing in front of my cell is a guard who begins throwing insults and questions what I was doing when I was captured by the Red Shields. I'm assuming at this point that this is a subsidiary branch of warriors for the Red Priests. At this point in the game, this is your class choice, not in the traditional fighter, mage, or cleric sense, but how you answer these questions offers bonuses to your hero's skills, and maybe a few recipes. Well, game, you started me off in jail, so I'll be the criminal you painted me as. Avalon needs a thief, say no more, say no more.
Look, we just have to get this over and done with. Unless you want a visit from someone upstairs. And trust me, you don't. Just like before, no food until we're done here. And the moment you start getting on my nerves, we're going back to my tried and tested fists. So, tell me, what were you doing in the forest when the Red Shields caught you? A common thief. I knew it. So, are you one of those who sneak in and steal whatever's valuable when nobody's looking? Or one of the cowards who shoot people from a distance?
I tell the jailer that I was looking to sell some illicit goods, and he calls me a thief. He then wants to dig a little deeper and asks if I prefer skulking in the shadows or if I'm a cowardly archer. Is Avalon taking a shot at the other game because everyone eventually becomes a stealth archer?
I figured. Your predecessor in this cell knew how to put up more of a fight. I'm missing a tooth thanks to him, but he's missing more. Look closely over there. See that little white gleam on the wall? Bits of his skull.
Now, what the game doesn't tell you is that these answers have weight, and once complete, you will receive bonuses to your skills based on your answers. There is no confirmation screen asking if you are sure you want these bonuses, and to be honest, I like that. I like it when a game soft forces you to live with your decision. I say soft because you can always reload and answer differently, but I can appreciate the attempt to force the player to think about their answers before choosing just the edgy one. Now, Fall of Avalon has a skill system not unlike the other game. If you want to raise a skill, use it. The higher the number gets, the better you do the action. Want to be an archer? Fight with a bow. Want to jump higher? Press the jump button until your fingers bleed. You get the idea. But we'll touch more on character development later on. For now, back to the story.
Okay, that was easier than I expected. Now, unfortunately, we'll have to stop.
I always found it puzzling that these people won't bathe. You, I understand, you're literally rotting in this damned cell, but them, there's just no excuse for the stench. There they are, finally. I know, you have a million questions forming in your head, but they'll have to wait. One of these keys will open your cell. When you get out, head left. I'll scout ahead.
The guard suddenly sprouts an arrow between his ears, and a man clad in dark leather steps into view. He takes issue with the hygiene of the guards and offers me the keys to my cell and says some tropey shit about having questions, but now isn't the time nor place to discuss the whats and whens and whys. He then leaves and says to follow him to the left. Not a chance. I'm not following that guy anywhere until I have seen what lies to the right. But before that, I need some gear. The guard's stinky leathers will have to do, and I get my first weapon, a club. Also on the floor is a bowl of beggar's fare. I'm gonna guess it's some oat-based gruel flavored with red priest urine. Yeah, that can stay behind. I am taught how to equip weapons and armor, and the interface is good and self-explanatory. I have weapon loadouts for main and offhand gear, a full suite of armor slots for the usual spots, head, chest, legs, boots, gloves, and a cloak, and some jewelry slots for an amulet and 2 rings. And below that is a space for quick slot items, clean and easy to understand. My current health, stamina, and mana are displayed on the bottom left, and I have a bag tab to look at all the things I'll be stealing as the story progresses. Okay, let's explore. Directly across from my cell is what appears to be a torture room. Apart from some spoiled meat, the only item I can interact with is a book titled The 7 Commandments. It speaks of the doctrine of the Red Priests, and in particular their gospel and teachings, claiming that the word is the way, and that through faith you will be rewarded. Okay, so we can assume by the aesthetics of Asylum and the creed of the Red Priest that they are your typical zealot-esque clergy. I doubt I'll find any allies amongst their ranks. Apart from the text, the prop is fantastic. It is faded parchment that appears to have not aged well in the dankness of a prison cell. The page is faded with water damage and topped with what I can only assume the sigil of the Red Clergy, and scrawled with writing in a strange language. I can also imagine the Red Priest used this text while torturing the prisoners in an attempt to convert them to their way of thinking. It is both good lore and fine visual storytelling. Down the hall to the right is a scene of fantastic visual storytelling. A guard is seated at a table with an arrow lodged in his eye. Before him is some moonshine and a book. The book is, well, a smut novel about Sir Osbert and his conquering of Lady Liliana. It's not a bad read for the one-handed gamer, and the artwork is great. From the scene, I know that this poor bastard was enjoying the adventures of Sir Osbert when suddenly an arrow from our savior took him by surprise. This is good stuff, and I'm looking forward to more visual and written storytelling. Beyond the guard is a small cabinet that is locked, and upon it sits a tiny menhir statue, which I take. The cabinet has a mini unlocking game. Well, I've been here before. The pick is easy, and inside I am awarded with some coin and a few potions. I take the book, some coins, and now I'm curious. Can I remove the arrow from the guard's eye? Yes. Yes, I can. Beyond the guard is a fireplace, and the area appears to be the break room for the guards. The walls have representations of Lady Liliana on them. I'm guessing the book is a favorite amongst the guards. On a side table is a recipe page called Cooking for the Resistant Part 1. As you probably already guessed, this is a recipe book for basic cooking, and teaches me a few recipes of the culinary arts. The fact that there is a written entry that talks about simple recipes and gives the basics for making mashed potatoes is fantastic. I can appreciate the effort here. It would have been all too simple to just create a recipe that was consumable without any flavor text about the skills learned. This is immersive and a great way to teach players about your world and send players like myself on a feeding frenzy for books. Sitting in front of the fire pit are 2 sleeping bags indicating that resting to regain health is available on Avalon. Also within the fire pit rests a cooking pot, and although I don't have any ingredients, I know that food may play a larger role in my character's survival. Although I don't have a hunger or thirst meter, I can assume that different recipes offer buffs to stats or healing at least, and so far the tutorial is laid out very well. The hall to the right leads to a door that I can't interact with, so I snag up some devil's snare from the nearby shelf, and it's time to follow our savior. The crumbling stone corridor beyond is lined with locked cells, each more disturbing than the last. The Red Priests are using their patients as guinea pigs to throw any and all forms of deranged treatments at the infirm they hold prisoner. The shelves are lined with extracted hearts, brains, monster blood, and the sinew of strange beasts. Many of the rooms contain reports and autopsies concerning the unfortunates of Asylum. The props are fantastic, and the artwork of each note adds to my growing immersion as I press deeper into the prison. I also find a shield in what appears to be a storage room of both alchemical goods and food supplies. Nice. Eventually, I come across a door that requires a key to open, and further down the adjacent hall is another dead guard, laying prone with an arrow lodged in his head. Again, this is good visual storytelling. I know that my savior is a skilled archer, and excels at stealthy assassination. This is reinforced by the fact that there are red priests below the dead guard's location, well within earshot had a fight broken out. On the fallen priest, I find a key, which I take and return to the laboratory door. Inside the laboratory stands a red priest with his back turned. I manage to slip inside the room and close the door behind me. And this room is a nightmare of dangling corpses and alchemical ingredients. Upon a small stand, I snatch up 2 healing potions, and again, I can't help but notice the visual storytelling. The potions were located on a small autopsy table beside the red priest's latest victim, whose corpse is prostrated on a torture rack, implying that the potions are used to keep their test subjects alive so they can further their research. Across the room is a glowing slip of parchment, and it turns out to be a spell. Summon Sword, a conjuration spell that manifests a sword in the caster's hand. Very cool for anyone looking to play a Spellblade type character. I want to thoroughly examine the room, which means the red priest has to go.
We'll send you into the abyss!
The fight is quick and I finish off the priest with ease. I did notice that I managed to stagger the priest when I timed my block just before his dagger landed, acting as more of a parry than the traditional block. I'll keep that in mind. With the priest dead, I set about looting the room, and this room is packed with notes and lore. The origin of Asylum and how King Arthur's court discovered their prophet supposedly years after her passing, alive and well and in her very coffin, and then granted the priests the fortress prison of Asylum. The priest rival faction known as the Druids and how they despised their practices. A footnote about an event known as the Charred Conclave that hints at some dark ceremony or sacrificial ritual, and that the Red Priests seem to have no qualms about using the primordial fog known as the Weirdness to further their war against the Red Death. And finally, the symptoms of the Red Death itself, and how the fanatical priests teach that it is a punishment for not following their word. It's a lot to drink in, but I love the attention to detail. Also in the room is an alchemy bench, and the graphic is fantastic. Using the bench affords me a few healing potions that require both an alcoholic base and some sage. Nice. Tucked behind a dislodged cabinet is a natural tunnel that bends below the upper floors and is lined with mushrooms. The tunnel comes to a stop at the end of the room where multiple priests seem to be deep in research. I want to explore the room, so it's time for another fight.
You'll suffer for your sins! My resolve is unshaken! My resolve is unshaken! Sacrifice to the prophet! I'm not afraid to suffer! The word protects me! You've fueled my holy rage! The word protects me! I am the prophet's hammer!
With the 3 priests down, I loot some coins from their bodies and set about looting the area. This entire prison drips with torture and misery. Corpses in cages, both human and monstrous body parts set about the shelving and tables. This room rests just below the bridge where I discovered the laboratory key, indicating that this area could have been avoided altogether. But my curiosity is rewarded with another snippet of lore, and with it more alchemical recipes. The book tells of the author's belief in that to create the greatest potions requires one's living tissue instead of herbal ingredients. Nearby sits another alchemy table where I craft some mana potions. All potions seem to have a base of one form of alcohol or another, then the required herbal or living reagents. Leading out of the room is another tunnel that wraps around to the opposite side of the room, to a staircase that leads to where I found the laboratory key above. I liked it even this early in the game. I had the option to avoid the fight with the three priests if I had wanted, and I'm hoping that this design continues as I dive deeper into Avalon's locations. For now, I'm left with only one option, a descending stairs and further into the prison. The corridor splits at the end of the stairs. Another dead priest lays at the center of the area, and on him I find a bow and some arrows, including the one our savior lodged in him. Standing casually nearby is, in fact, our rescuer.
You took your sweet time, eh? But I understand. I did too when I was leaving this place for the first time. You have to admit, the Red Priests are quite resourceful when it comes to death and dying. Great question, truly. But in case you haven't noticed, we're still within the walls of the island asylum. When we're out, then we'll talk. I'm told this path leads to the beach. I don't know how, but if it's true, then I'll wait there for you until dusk. Good luck.
Okay, so deeper in and to the beach. I'm not sure why we aren't leaving together. He seems extremely capable and must want me alive, otherwise why go to all this trouble to free me? He offers no information other than "we'll talk later," so I'm forced to press on alone. The chambers of the fortress give way to a more natural underground, lined with fungi and another snippet of lore on a nearby end table. The book speaks of the menhir statues that were presumably created by Merlin, but recent discoveries have located one of the statues far below the prison, indicating that Merlin was not their original creator. Further down the corridor, I see another red priest. Time for some archery. With another priest dead, the area opens up into a vast chasm, and the entire area is just aesthetically pleasing. The giant four-dweller effigy in the distance looks great, and the area is roped with massive vine-like tendrils. Nearby is a strange device that, when used, creates some vines to form a bridge, but only partially and not nearly long enough to try and cross. Further back, the area is blocked by crisscrossing living vines with a similar device just out of reach, leaving me with only one pathway to follow. The path leads to another drop-off, but below stands another red priest. I waited to see if the AI would forget I had just put an arrow in its head, and I'm happy to learn that this seems to take a very long time. I'll perform some more combat tests as the situation arises. For now, I'm happy to face them head-on with my club. Beyond is a crumbling chamber with a pickaxe lodged in the stone, which I take because I don't know if mining is a thing. Standing front and center in the collapsed chamber is a menhir statue, and it looks terrific, and I recognize this area from the game's main menu screen. Nearby is another note detailing this particular menhir only has 3 arms as opposed to the usual 4. The author speaks of one of his fellow brethren touching the statue and vanishing, and that he can hear the menhir's call, and that it is only a matter of time before he is forced to answer. I guess I'm left with little choice but to investigate. Interacting with the statue transports me to another dimension, and the area looks amazing. Floating debris and crumbling structures float in the distance. The terrain is shattered stone that's knitted together by embered vine-like tendrils. The whole scene is just a fantastic visual set piece. Nearby is the corpse of the red priest who came before, indicating that either there is no way to leave, he was not welcome, or the place could be dangerous. Or all of them. As I navigate the area, a guttural voice speaks in a language I don't understand. Giant stone statues are locked in conflict flanking my passage, and a small circular stone holds childlike sculptures with fiery eyes and an assortment of emotional poses with random facings. Nearby are huge crossed arms, and dangling from them is a glittering stone amulet that increases its wearer's magical armor. And now I'm starting to feel debated. I mean, how the fuck is this the way out? I was told this was going to lead to the beach, not Dark Wonderland. Did my savior know about this? And if so, that means he has an agenda, or whoever sent him has one. and I'm starting to think I'm just a puppet in someone else's plan. I guess I'll have to wait and see. I navigate the terrain and walk upon huge human like statues that are set to crawl upon one another to form a would be platform, and that's where I come across the Four Dweller.
I've been waiting a long time for someone to find me. Are you here to help me leave this place? I do not know. I think it is some kind of prison deep in the weirdness. I wish I could answer. I cannot remember. I know I am not complete. I remember I once knew who I was at some point, but I do not anymore. I just am. Why are you here? Are men here? That would explain the weirdness surrounding us. I might be. I do not know. Was I sent here for a reason? Did I end up here by accident, like you? I've been here for what seems like an eternity. I feel I am getting restless. You are looking for a way out yourself. I think we might be able to help one another with that. I shall do something now. But trust me, the discomfort will be worth the outcome.
Okay, Swirly Spirit Guy looks awesome and is well voice acted. After our conversation, I'm able to interact with the strange devices I saw earlier in the prison asylum. The roots appear and remain firm, allowing me to traverse the gap. The viney bridge leads to a coliseum-like chamber below, where a single hand juts from the stone holding a sword. Here I learn about parrying. Yeah, I thought that's what that was. And that the Four Dweller has offered a gift, the ability to temporal displace and slow time, but the ability has limits and can only be recharged by taking life. Interesting.
I am sorry I did not ask for your permission to do that, but I hope it was worth it, as promised. Forgive me. I am not giving you a choice. But I still promise the reward. Having me as your companion on this island will be worth more than any illusion of free will you may have wished to choose.
So we have a new element to the story. The spirit of a Four Dweller has decided that I'll make a good vessel for his escape from the weirdness, and is now housed in my heart whether I like it or not. And the whole interaction has me feeling some sort of way, but I'm interested to learn more as the story progresses. A portal appears, and it looks exactly how magic portals should look. The graphic design team is just slaughtering it. Well done. The portal transports me back inside the island prison, behind the living vine wall I encountered earlier with another of those strange devices. Interacting with it removes the vines, and I'm now able to traverse the long vine-like bridge from earlier. I love it when a game dangles mechanics in front of the player before they're able to interact with it. It leaves the player wondering, how do I get there? Only to offer up the ability later on, allowing new avenues to become available as the player progresses. From here, the scenery gets weird and fantastical yet again. The weirdness rabbit hole seems pretty fucking deep. The chamber ahead is another amazing set piece. Twin Titan-like giants are rotating a massive arcane machine. They look horrifying and incredible as their thunderous footfalls keep whatever this contraption is running. Beyond them, the bridge opens onto another large room. A descending stairs leads to a portal, but standing guard before it is the silhouette of a humanoid. The upper level splits both left and right, where large stone tablets reside. Both speak of the Titans powering the device and that one day they will discover what lies beyond the sea. But for now, they must retreat. I'm not sure what all this means, but my path is pretty clear. The weird beast is much tougher than anything I have encountered so far. It is also capable of throwing a magical projectile, but armed with the knowledge of parry and a swift blade, I get the job done. On its corpse is the very spell it used against me. Nice. After testing my new spell and looting some weird stone from the room, I am forced to walk through yet another portal. I arrive on the beach. Wait, what? How the f is this the way to the beach? Is this how the Red Priests get to the beach? Like when Tom the Torturer and Ted the Mangler are done touching innocent women, they're like, "Hey man, you want to catch some sun? Sure, let's just pop through the funky rooms of gloom and doom and bada boom, it's margaritas and sand in our crack." I arrive standing under an enormous stone hand with a bisected corpse dangling from its palm. Strange runes and effigies surround the area, and the beach beyond is a tangle of moss-covered sharp rocks and broken ships. Nearby is the corpse of a red priest. On him is a letter detailing his concern with the activities and research of his brethren, claiming that the current torture and use of the weirdness is not true to their doctrine. Taking the letter offers a quest and leads me to think that the Red Priests may have once soldiered a just cause, but somewhere along the way to combating the Red Death, they became obsessed with victory regardless of the consequences or the loss of life. Exploring the area leads me to another statue. The image is that of a woman holding what appears to resemble a shepherd's staff or reaping scythe. I'm not sure, but I believe this is the Red Priest deity or their prophet. Alchemy ingredients rest on the offering stone, and decomposing corpses lay strewn about the site. It's difficult to tell if the bodies are a form of sacrifice or this site of worship has been neglected for far too long. With a little more curious exploration, I uncover the now vacant cave dwelling of a druid. His journal speaks briefly of the Charred Conclave and his continual evasive tactics from the Red Priests, eventually taking help from someone in the sunken village and chartering a boat to the very stronghold of his pursuers. And I gotta say, that's a pretty bold strategy, to hide under the very nose of your enemies, but his plan seems to have worked, and he lingered within this cave for the remainder of his days. As a player, I'm interested to discover more lore and stories concerning the Charred Conclave, the Druids and their interactions with the world, and why the priesthood despises them so much. For now, all that seems left is to speak to my savior, who is flanked by two more strangers. So, I've noticed that my sneaking skill has been leveling up a lot, even when enemies are not in sight. I wonder if I can use this to further my stealthy hero before speaking with our savior and his buddies. Well, I mean, if I can do this, how many other skills can I raise before leaving Tutorial Island? Okay, well, that's possible and was about as awesome as you can imagine, standing on a beach doing fake martial arts for like 15 hours. And I'm not holistically sure how I feel about it, so let's just move on.
There he is. Now that we're all here, meet your new comrades, Conquer and Syria. Get some rest, people, and prepare for the journey. We're leaving at dusk.
Not so fast, brother. I'm not getting near a goddamn boat unless I know where I'm going.
Away from here, brother. Isn't that enough?
If you wish. But since we're all here and we have some time to kill, it would be nice if you finally explained what the hell's going on. You've helped us leave our cages, great. But even though we're grateful, you owe us an explanation. What do you want from us?
To show some damn gratitude for one thing.
Caradoc, we weren't born yesterday. No one would risk getting into trouble with the priests for nothing. Why did you save us?
I need you to kill King Arthur.
You're insane. He's insane.
The King Arthur that has already been dead for 600 years, King Arthur.
Precisely.
But he's dead.
You probably wouldn't have heard about it among the tribes, little Pict, but every single time things go down the shitter on this island, a bunch of cowards in Camelot bring our once and future king back from the dead. It's happened before. It will happen again. And soon.
What a load of... fine. Have it your way. Let's say I believe you.
You can't be serious.
He believes that. There's no point in arguing with a madman. but that still doesn't explain why you saved us, Caradog.
I wish I knew why I was ordered to save you three specifically. Personally, I don't see the appeal, but I don't question my orders, and if you get on my boat, you won't question mine. Understood? Now get some rest. The tide's not right just yet, but it will break and start working in our favor by dusk.
Fine. But where are we going, exactly?
To the Horns of the South.
Nice. A bunch of glorified fishermen who hate my people. Why would we stop there?
Do they teach you, Del Rita, anything? To take the Excalibur, obviously.
Obviously.
He's truly insane.
You'll see for yourselves soon enough. Now pin these emblems to your clothes. They will grant you free passage to the Horns. And get some sleep. You all look like you're about to keel over, and we have a long journey ahead of us.
Well, that was unexpected and a lot to drink in. Kill King Arthur and steal Excalibur. I'm going to have to let that one stew for a while before I have a solidified opinion on the matter. But it sounds pretty fucking bananas. Our savior seems to have higher-ups calling the shots for him, and the other two former prisoners have little to share on the subject, other than they also think the idea of offing Arthur and stealing the sword is a stupid idea. With nothing else to do, I guess it's time to leave the island asylum and make our way to the Horns of the South. Regardless of just how calm the sea appeared, the ship wrecks and I awake on the sandy shores of Avalon. Wow, these videos are long. I hope you enjoyed episode 1 of my take so far on Tainted Grail, the Fall of Avalon. I hope you're looking forward to episode 2. It's already in the making. It's probably going to be coming to the channel next Wednesday. If you're enjoying the story, be a Chad, tippity tap that subscribe button. Trying to get the channel to 1,000 subscribers. I really appreciate you. Hope to see your comments down below. I try my best to respond or at least react to all of them. But most importantly, guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day, friends. I'll catch you next time. Goodbye.